All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your presenter today. Thank you very much for attending. We're here to talk about the Church Windows bank reconciliation process in accounting. Before we get started on the topic, it's a really beefy topic to try to cover in 20 minutes, but we're going to do our best. If you've never attended a webinar event, please use the little red arrow at the top right of or top left of your control panel there to minimize the webinar control panel pane, whatever you decide to call it. Get that out of the way. This is particularly important if you have a single monitor setup, or if you've got a dual monitor setup. Of course, just drag that control panel off to your second desktop again, just to get it out of the way. If you have questions for me, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. I will do my best to keep an eye on those. And I'll try to, I'll repeat them for everyone's benefit, and then I'll try my best to answer those. I simply ask that you do keep the questions topical, meaning if it's not about the bank reconciliation, either please contact our support staff at 800-533-5227, or perhaps there's another webinar event that would be best suited to answer that question for you. It's not because I don't want to answer it, I just may not be equipped to do so to answer it for you today. I also may put questions off to a support call, specifically if it's about your particular bank reconciliation, your data. This webinar isn't set up to answer those types of questions. This is just simply about the bank reconciliation process. And again, you may be advised to contact support to get your questions answered. Finally, I'm going to wrap up my topic at 20 minutes after the hour, no matter where I am. Again, just out of respect for your taking the time out to spend with us today. I'll stick around and try to answer the questions if there are any when we're done. The topic, our workbook topic, is from Accounting A203 workbook, pages 12 to 22. So for those of you that have the accounting workbooks, Accounting Workbook A203. I'm using the pages 12 to 22, basically from 12 to the final pages of the workbook, as the basis for our topic today. If you don't have the workbooks, of course you can go to the Church Windows website here. I'm going right into our beginning, right to the training workbooks right there, and you can purchase the workbooks. They're $12 downloadable as a PDF file. Very simple to purchase directly from our store. A lot of folks like those. You may be interested in that, and we'd certainly encourage it. We try to follow along with the workbooks for our webinars as much as humanly possible. Last thing here, before we go in, we already have a good deal of information out on the website about the bank reconciliation. So here I am. I'm going to the support center. If I click under here under the search and I type in bank reconciliation and click on search, it's going to reveal a variety of things here. Accounting bank reconciliation, version 18 or higher. First bank reconciliation ever, when the bank reconciliation does not reconcile. Again, all kinds of things here, folks. First bank reconciliation after converting from financial to accounting. There is all kinds of information that's already existing. We are going to record this webinar, and it will be made available on our support center because it is on the new version 20 at some point. But if you don't want to wait, you've got the information that's already on our website available about this. This bank reconciliation process hasn't changed in, 5 versions, folks. So the bank reconciliation is the same now as it was back in version, 2008. Okay, so it's changed very little. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. So the bank reconciliation process, of course, is really the only way to know truly whether the data that you're recording in Church Windows in the forms of bills and payments and deposits is checking out with or agreeing with your bank statement each month. Okay, yes, even if you keep a paper checkbook, check register, it is only it's the bank reconciliation process in the software that's really only going to be able to verify or allow you to know whether Church Windows is in agreement with your bank statement or not. Okay, so it's really important to do that. Okay, this is a very important step. And so we strongly encourage, if you own Church Windows Accounting, you're using it to record your transactions, use the bank reconciliation process. It simply, and you know what? I'm asking you as the technician that supports the software for you. it is a very important, probably the most important part of the software to use, especially if you're asking me to help you try to figure out why Church Windows isn't reconciling with the bank. If you call me on support and I ask you the question, are you reconciling, Church Windows with your bank statement? If you say no to that, the call's done. Okay, I can't help you if you're not reconciling and using the bank reconciliation in Church Windows. Okay, that is the only way I can help you, is when you're actually reconciling Church Windows with your bank statement in the software itself, not outside of it or in a hand bank rec. Okay, a hand reconciliation. Okay. Of course, in order to be able to reconcile Church Windows with your statement, you're going to need an actual copy of the bank statement for the period that you're reconciling and the asset that you're reconciling for. Okay. That's clearly, stated at the top of page 13 on our workbook topic, okay? And I've got one here. You can't see it basically, but I've got a statement here that I'm going to use to be able to reconcile. Now, in this case, we're in January of 2018, so we're going to reconcile January of 2018. Two ways you can get to that bank rec screen. We can go either right here in the center. Let me get my highlighter friend right here, bank reconciliation. Or we can go up to special functions right at the top here. Let me get rid of my drawing tool, go up to special functions, and then right here in the upper left-hand corner, bank reconciliation, right here, okay? So two ways to get to that bank reconciliation in the software. We're going to go right to the one right here in the middle, okay? So the first thing it does is it opens up our bank reconciliation screen. It's essentially gray. There's nothing available because it's waiting for us to choose certain or enter certain information before it will allow us to proceed. So it opens to our tab called Account. And the first thing it asks us to do is to choose the asset account that we're reconciling. So we're going to choose our Huntington Bank checking account. Once we've selected that, it now presents us with some options below that. Begin a new bank reconciliation, or if you've got some previously reconciled periods in that same accounting year, it's going to maybe offer up our select a saved bank reconciliation. Well, we don't have any in here this is our first bank rec for 2018, so there is nothing to choose under select a saved, and we're going to begin a new bank rec. So we're going to look at our statement here, and it says, yes, statement ending January 31st, 2018, so that date is correct, but you will enter whatever statement ending date your bank statement shows. Okay, it may not be the final day of the month. It might be something different. Okay, so be sure to enter that statement ending date here for the beginning of new bank rec for the same statement ending date that shows on your statement. If not, it could create problems. Okay. So once we've chosen those two things, we're going to click Next. So now then a next page opens called Statement. And this is a very important page here, okay? So basically this confirms our statement ending date. It's where we would come in should we decide we want to delete a bank reconciliation. Notice right up here in the upper right we have a Delete This Bank Reconciliation button. I use that quite often on my support calls, okay? It doesn't matter whether the bank rec is finalized or not. You may always delete a bank reconciliation in accounting if you wish. Okay, but this statement information right over here, statement balances and totals, beginning balance, deposits, withdrawals, and ending balance. That's all information that's taken directly from our bank statement for that period. So in this case, for our statement ending January 31st, this information is taken from the statement. Okay. So we're going to key in all these. And what I like to point out also about this is, right down here we've got the deposits plus, minus, equals. This equation has to be sensible. It has to be logical, okay? So, if I try to enter, if my beginning balance plus my total deposits minus less my total withdrawals does not equal the ending balance, it won't allow us to click Next. So here we are. We're going to key this in. So it's going to flash our red dot at us because it's waiting because it's still not logical until we finish up anything. So we're going to type in our beginning balance here of $77,340.67. I tab down. Here's my red dot. You just have to overlook that for the time being. I've got total deposits of $24,706.38. And then I tab down to my total withdrawals. I key in my 11,558.51. And then I key in my ending balance of $90,488 90,488.54. Okay, so now if I hit enter or tab, it should go away, and notice that the red dot disappears. Okay, if that equation, beginning balance plus deposits less withdrawals, doesn't equal the ending balance, it'll just continue to flash at you until it is done. Okay, but it is logical. And frequently what I deal with, and I'm just sharing a little bit of wisdom with you about this, is sometimes banks will not include either interest earnings or fees in their deposits and withdrawals. So frequently what I'll tell folks on a support call is, get out your calculator. Run this equation, okay? Enter the beginning balance, adding in the total deposits, subtract out the total withdrawals, and see if it enters the ending balance. If it doesn't, you have to figure out what the difference is and why. And oftentimes it is, again, either interest that they're not including or fees that they're not including in either total deposits or total withdrawals. Okay? In this case, it is. So we're now welcome and free to go to next. And we are going to see, of course, our adjusted bank balance and asset balance per accounting and a difference to reconcile because we haven't cleared anything yet. All right? Those amounts will change once we begin to clear things. Okay? So now we're going to proceed to next. It now opens up our next tab of charges and interest. So this is where it says, fees, charges, and other bank debits not previously recorded. So if you recorded your fees or your interest before you came into this, you wouldn't need to do them here. Okay? Also, interest and other bank credits not previously recorded. So I do have a small amount of interest that I've received on this statement, so I'm going to go ahead and record that. So I'm going to choose my interest on checking and savings. I'm going to enter the amount. It's $1.38. And again, this is very important, folks, is you've got to click post down here. This is an actual transaction that you're entering. It's posting it to the books. So you've got to click on post on that or else it's not going to enter and record that. Okay, a lot of folks do that and they simply click next and they're wondering, why am I out by that amount? You got to post it. So we click post. It then posts that transaction, and there is an advantage to posting this here. Because why? Because if you post either one of these transactions, the system automatically clears it because it assumes that because you're recording it during the bank reconciliation process that it should be cleared, and so it does, and we'll see that here in just a minute. So then now we're going to click on next, and now this takes us to our deposits tab. So we do notice, again, we've got our interest from other bank credits right here for the $1.38, and it is already cleared. Okay, so I don't need to worry about clearing that. The system has already taken care of that for me. Okay, so now I would simply go down the list and match up my deposits as they occur with those as they show on my bank on my bank statement. Okay, so I would simply go down the list. So one of the most important things about this screen, and I think this is, again, one of the most commonly and overlooked features, is, sometimes, like say we've got electronic giving. Okay, we've got folks that are giving through PayPal or Vanco or something, and they're importing a file or we're entering donations, and we're seeing multiple transactions here for the same date. Now, we don't have any in our data today, but I get that call in support a lot is, hey, Josh, I've got 12 different transactions that are on the same day, and they're all represented by one single deposit on my statement, but in Church Windows, they are separate transactions. Do I have to get out my calculator and add all of those up? The simple answer is no. Why, you ask? Because, and I like to point this out, up here at the top left, it says drag a column header here to group by that column, right here, okay? All right, I've kind of overwritten it here with my yellow, but you'll see it when you go into yours. So what do? I pick up my column header called date occurred, and I drag it up there and I drop that right there. And notice it now bundles all of my deposits together by date. Okay, so if I did have multiple transactions, it would show this total right here to the right in the middle with the total of those deposits for each day. Okay? So that will really help you in terms of getting those deposits and letting the system help you determine whether you're there and make that process a lot simpler and easier for you. Okay, it'll just automatically go back to separating that if I choose not to drag it back down, but I can now go down and I can check the deposits for each one of those dates if the amounts match up. Okay, So what I could now do is I can go right up to the top and do check all, because all my deposits on my statement for the month check out. So I'm going to just check those. Let's drag our date occurred back down. It's now got a check mark in all of my cleared boxes for all of my deposits. My deposits, or my difference to reconcile, is changed. My adjusted bank balance and my balance per accounting are different. But I can pretty much already tell that the difference to reconcile is $11,558.51, which was the amount of my checks. I'm pretty sure at this point I'm going to reconcile, assuming I clear all of the appropriate checks properly. Okay? So then I would simply click over next or click on my withdrawals tab, and I would literally go down the list, checking each one of my checks as they are matching up on my bank statement itself. Folks, I don't like to have to say this, but it's important because I work with a lot of folks who are really kind of new to this sort of process with regards to us. But for those that are experienced, I'm sure you understand. Folks, you can't just verify the check number. You've got to verify the amount. Okay, you've got to do both. So it's just, help yourself, learn to discipline to just not only say, hey, that check number is accounted for. You've got to double check and make sure not only is the check number correct, but the amount that shows up on the statement matches the amount that's in the software. If not, and you miss and overlook something, you're going to have a difference to reconcile, and you're going to go, what's going on? You call me about it, I'm going to go, hey, you've got to go through your deposits or your withdrawals, and you've got to verify that those amounts, not only the check numbers, have cleared. Okay? But literally, we would just continue to go down the list, verifying the amounts and putting a little check mark next to each of them on our bank statement until we've accounted for all of those checks that have appeared on the statement. And folks, you've got to have a corresponding entry in Church Windows that we can clear to match with those statements, statement items. If we don't, we've got to figure out why the transaction is missing in Church Windows and get that entered and get that to show up. It is simply a comparison between the bank statement and what's recorded in the software. That is all that the bank reconciliation is. Okay? So when a transaction is missing, you've got to find out why and get that fixed. Okay? So again, because we're kind of getting short on time here, we're going to make the assumption that, we're going to do check all here. You do have a check all and uncheck all. And I do have 4 checks at the end of the month that didn't clear. So I have 9. You can do it this way too. So if it's easier for you to uncheck those that didn't clear, you can do that. So in this case, I've got 78943, 78942, 78940, and 78938 that didn't clear. And what do you know? I now have a 0 difference to reconcile down here. I have balloons. Woohoo! Yay, winning. So I am now reconciled for the month of January 2018. Okay? Everything that shows up on my statement has a corresponding transaction in accounting that's matched up with and cleared. Okay? I can now, print this, save it, print it, finalize it, however I choose to deal with it. All right? I strongly recommend using the Get Help Reconciling, okay? Because if I click on that and it opens up my Help Deposit Comparison and Help Withdrawal Comparison, this is comparing the information that I have recorded from my statement with the items that I have and entered and cleared in accounting, and can perhaps tell me which side of the bank reconciliation my difference is coming from if I have one. So if I've got a difference on, say, my withdrawal comparison, but it's 0 on my deposits, that tells me that my problem is on my withdrawals. I can completely, bypass going back to my deposits. Those all check out. So utilize this help features, folks. This is very helpful. Okay? Also, please, when you are content or happy with your difference to reconcile, print it. Okay? It is really the only way that when you print the bank reconciliation report, there's a date on it when we know we were reconciled. So if we go back and we, are unreconciled for one reason or another, and it doesn't reconcile for something, this report can often help you and help me understand maybe when something occurred regarding that. All right, so I'm not entirely clear. Oh, there's the preview. It's just taking a second to pop up. Also, folks, finalize them. Ultimately, everybody differs in terms of how they finalize them or when. Some folks will finalize them as soon as they're at 0. Others won't finalize them until they've got the next month in hand. I'm sorry, folks. I've got an issue here with regards to the preview coming up. This might be something in here in the new version that I'm unaware of. But be sure to print it. And some folks will finalize them only after, they'll go through and finalize them maybe after December. Once they, get through the year and they go back and verify they're all zero, they'll finalize them then. Some will leave a month in hand. Some folks will finalize them, immediately when they're at zero. But please eventually finalize those, okay? However you choose to do it. It's simple as clicking on finalize. It says you cannot make changes to finalize bank recs. Do you want to? Click yes. And now January is finalized, okay? Software doesn't require it, but we strongly encourage that you do finalize those at some point. Whether you again go back and do all 12 months at one time and do it, or leave 1 month open, or do them at that time when they're zero. It's entirely up to you, but please do it. All right, we've gone about a minute long. Let me see what questions we have out here about this. Could the program be modified to tell us how much out of the balance we are? Christy, that's a tough question. Again, until we begin to clear those transactions, the system doesn't even know. So, the bank rec is sort of telling you when you're out of balance. That may be something you need to call us about on that in terms of understanding more of what you're trying to have the system do. I often recommend folks going in and printing the bank rec report before I clear anything. It just simply shows me a list of all of my outstanding deposits and withdrawals, and I can just sit that down next to my bank, to my statement, and try to reconcile, and maybe determine whether I'm going to have any problems at the get-go by simply just comparing the, the report of all outstanding transactions before I actually try to reconcile in the software. So again, maybe print it before you get started on it and see if you can kind of maybe anticipate some problems before you even begin the bank rec, okay? Can I print after saving, or should I print before I save? Oh, no, great question. Yeah, you can always print it even after you finalized it. That's a great question. Can you get a list of reconciliation report that lists the cleared and what is outstanding? Well, the only time to do that, really, Jennifer, again, would be to print it before you begin clearing things. That's going to show everything that's outstanding until you clear it. But essentially, you could go in and print your transaction journal that includes all of your cleared and uncleared transactions, but that's not the same thing. So basically, printing it before you begin clearing items, printing that bank reconciliation report is really going to be the only way to do that. Okay, good questions. All right, I don't see anything else coming in. Again, folks, you've got lots of resources available on the website. It's just data. It has to be an explanation as to why Church Windows isn't checking out with the bank statement. If you're having problems with that, you're not able to resolve it, please contact us. We'll certainly do what we can to help you with that. Okay? Does 203 replace 202? I'm being asked. No, 202 is a different workbook with different information. I suppose it could, Cassandra, that that bank rec may have been depending on an older version of the software. It might have been in 202, but in the current version of the software, bank rec is in 203. But essentially, they should be virtually the same. We don't have manuals in the truest sense anymore. We have updated the help files in version 20, so those will be up to date when you get that and those are installed. But yes, please use the website, use the help files, and of course contact support when you have questions. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for everybody. Again, we've gone a little long. Appreciate your patience, and we'll look forward to hearing from you if you have questions or at another Church Windows webinar event. All right, thank you all so much. Take care. Bye-bye.